pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Blasbach?
Here.
Mrs. Hildebrand? Here. Mrs. Hoskins? Here. Mr. Jones? Robert Jones?
Here.
Mr. Tony Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Schott? And student representatives.
Here.
Thank you. And if you... Oh, yeah, sorry. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but Bob just noticed that we have a new face. Do you mind just telling us your name again? Sorry.
I'm Manny Etchellis.
Nice to meet you. She's one of our student representatives. And as I said to you before the meeting started, you're welcome, and feel
Thank
free to
you.
raise your hand anytime if you have any questions or you want to pop in with a comment. And if you could call the calendar?
Sure. Tuesday, October 16th, there'll be a school committee business meeting at the North Kingstown High School. And Tuesday, October 30th, there'll be a school committee business meeting at the high school.
Thank you very much. So next for presentations and recognitions, I'm going to start by introducing Karen Tarasevich and Tom DiPaolo, who are here on behalf of the Rhode Island School Superintendents Association to present to Dr. Auger the Superintendent of the Year Award. Congratulations, Dr. Auger, again.
Thank you.
Good evening. Members of the North Kingstown School Committee and school community, on behalf of the RISA organization, thank you for allowing us to be with you tonight to present this prestigious award to Dr. Auger. It is my pleasure to present the 2019 Superintendent of the Year Award to Phil.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
I will open this in a minute.
Among Phil's recognitions over the years, he was also honored as the Rhode Island Assistant Principal of the Year in 2006. As a RISA member for 9 years, Phil has embodied the very essence of strong leadership as evidenced in the many accomplishments the North Kingstown School District has realized. Most notably is the level of student success and achievement. The North Kingstown School Department has improved in its student achievement indicators for the past 8 years. The district has also received recognition for 2 Blue Ribbon schools, Stony Lane Elementary in 2013 and Fishing Cove Elementary in 2017. Phil's leadership has supported the district in many different ways, as you all are well aware, and he has been an active member of the RISA organization, serving on the Executive Board, the Strategic Planning Committee, the Legislative Committee, and also as an AASA Governing Board representative. He has been actively testifying on several important legislative issues, including charter school legislation and school start times. He also serves on the Governor's Workforce Board for gun safety. He will be honored by the American Association of School Administrators at the National Conference on Education to be held in Los Angeles, California in February of 2019. And on a personal note, it's been my pleasure to work alongside Phil for these years, and I've learned and grown from his leadership and his professionalism. Again, please join me in congratulating Phil.
Thank you very much, Karen and Tom, for coming out tonight. It's a great honor for me to win this award, but it really is a team sport, and I feel very fortunate to have school committees that have supported me and great central office and teaching and support staff throughout the district that, people who are really dedicated to this work, and they make it a lot easier for me to win an award like this. So it's been a great run so far. I look forward to many more years, and I really appreciate all the support that's been given to me, much more than I feel like I've given to others, and that goes for the RISA organization as well. I have grown with RISA. I get more and more involved all the time, but I'll tell you, in being a part of the executive committee and listening to my fellow superintendents, I feel like I learn much more from them than they're getting from me. So it is greatly appreciated on all accounts. Thank you. And now I'm going to open this wonderful one. Yeah. There's a lot of people hoping that this is a cake.
It's not.
Okay, all right.
Never getting a cake around here.
There's a card. Hold on. put that to the side for now. Apart from the night over first. Oh, okay. Okay, this is going to be pretty nice looking. Wow. Got
Don't drop that.
that. Wow. Do not want to drop that. You're absolutely right.
Nice, very
So,
nice.
we're going to take some pictures, all right. How are we doing this? Yeah. Who would you like us? Okay.
Well, right at the end of.
You write that, everybody.
And don't move. Nice and happy, be quick and painless. Right there, hold steady. Nice. One or two more. Great. And a little closer. And tip that forward just without losing it. Great. Thank you very much. Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Okay. So, next item on our agenda is a presentation regarding the RIDE School Support System Report and Support Plan. So, Dr. Carson, if you could, when Phil's set, come to the podium,
Take it out of your way.
and you will have the floor.
Thank you. Wait or start?
I think you can start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's not something that hasn't been reviewed with Phil. Thank you. I'm honored to have this opportunity to present our school system support report from the Rhode Island Department of Education. This is my second time as Director of Pupil Personnel Services presenting to school committee and the community on special education. This particular presentation, can you hear? We're good? Okay. Is regarding the report that RIDE did. RIDE comes out and does a special education review every 3 to 5 years. We were on the 5-year cycle, and we were a Tier 1 community due to the exemplary work that our faculty and schools have done. So I just wanted to start a little bit with some of the demographics that they looked at. At the time of the visit, we were looking at having 508 students with IEPs throughout the district. In addition to the out-of-district students, it came to a grand total of 549. If you look at our numbers, pretty much they are commensurate across the different schools, elementary and middle. We did have a spike this year in Davisville Middle School, and I think that that's our 6th grade kind of increase in student population that we had overall. So they are significantly higher, and we've made some changes in programming for them. When we look at our programs across the board, and it is something that the Department of Education looks at, the majority of our students are in general education with supports and services. It was a little difficult. These are the actual categories that RIDE looks at, so I tried to kind of number them for you. But overall, the majority of our students are in inclusive practices, which was an improvement over our last school support visit, and they were very pleased to see that information. Okay, there's a glare on the board. Excuse me, I'm going to go to paper. I think I had this issue last time.
Come on out a little bit too, Kim, if you want.
Pardon?
Move the podium out a little bit if you like.
Now you want me to move furniture.
Well, it makes it easy.
You are correct, okay. Currently, our inclusive opportunities and programming that we have across the district includes our integrated preschool, who is just given the honor last week to be part of a pilot program with the Rhode Island Department of Education looking at how school districts collect early childhood data for reporting purposes for RIDE. They're going to be piloting a program to collect that data. Right now, we're actually have to report that data on an Excel spreadsheet, believe it or not. And so we are looking with RIDE to help them with that piece of it, and we were chosen for that. Our elementary programs include intensive resources, co-teaching opportunities, leaps and next steps, which I'll mention in another slide. Our middle school, we have resource, co-taught, and a life skills classroom. And then the high school, we have resource, co-taught classes, Success Academy, Life Skills, and Transition Academy, which I will speak about. Our numbers overall in our preschool are growing rapidly. We have 5 a.m. sessions and 5 afternoon sessions with a total of 6 full-time special education teachers, 10 program TAs. That's 2 TAs in each of our preschool classrooms, and we do have 1 personal care attendant for 1 student. Currently, we have 76 typical peers. We have just 4 slots left. We currently have a total of 48 students with disabilities with a maximum of 70. The maximum of 80 and 70 is RIDE proportions for an integrated preschool program. We also are currently Bright Star rated 4, which is great. When we look at our elementary staffing, we have pretty much our average of students receiving special education services across our elementary schools mirror the state average, which hovers between 15 and 20%. At Fishing Cove, 15% of the student population receives special services, and that is only IEP services. I did not include 504 since that's a general education initiative. We have 2 full-time special educators at Fishing Cove, 7.5 teaching assistants, and 1 full-time one-to-one. Forest Park is at 18%. We have 2 full-time teachers in that program, and we have 1.8 full-time special education teachers in the LEAPS program. That probably accounts for the 3% difference between Fishing Cove and Forest Park because there is a specialized program there. We have 7 full-time teaching assistants, 2 full-time teaching assistants that work in the LEAPS program, and a one-to-one TA. At Hamilton, we do have 11% of our students receiving special education services, 2 full-time special education teachers, and 2 full-time teachers for our Next Steps program. Again, similar amounts of TAs. We have 3 full-time program TAs in our special program and 3 one-to-one TAs to meet those students' needs. At Quinnesset, we're at 17% with 3 full-time special education teachers, 8 teaching assistants, 1 full-time BSA, and I'll talk a little bit more about the BSAs further on. Stony Lane, we're at 11% with 2 full-time resource teachers, 8 full-time TAs, and 1 full-time one-to-one. I will mention that the full-time TA support is building-based unless it mentions program TA, which means that those students provide support for students with IEPs, students in the general population, as well as building duties like recess, lunch, bus duty, those types of things. So they're very busy and very important to our school buildings. Specialized program at the elementary level that RIDE was very impressed to see was our LEAPS program, which is located at Forest Park Elementary School. It's a K-5 program that supports the specialized instructional needs of students that is beyond that of their peers. These students have specially designed instruction with a special education teacher in basic skills areas of reading and math, and then they are integrated throughout the day in other classes. The Next Steps program is a K-5 program located at Hamilton Elementary School. This program supports the specialized instructional needs of students with the most significant cognitive and physical impairments. At the secondary level, we again have similar percentage ratings to report. 16% of students at Davisville Middle School have IEPs. That's probably due to also the high number of students with IEPs that have moved in recently. We have 5 full-time special education teachers who provide co-teaching opportunities and resource support for students, and 1 full-time life skills classroom. That classroom went from a classroom of 2 to a classroom of 5, given the addition of 3 students who moved into the district this summer. We have 6 full-time TAs. We have 3 full-time one-to-one TAs that meet the behavioral and physical needs of some students. We have 1 full-time program aide in life skills, and we have 2 full-time ABA specialists in the life skills program that's contracted through Pathways to meet the IEP needs of 2 students. Wickford Middle School is 7% students with IEPs, 3 full-time special education teachers, 4 TAs. The high school is 8% students with IEPs. We have 8 full-time special education teachers who provide support to students through resource and co-taught classes. We have 1 full-time secondary transition coordinator who runs and coordinates our special education meetings, and also runs transition services. She is our contact with the state to transition council meetings, bringing that information back. She's our main lead for the Transition Institute that RIDE has. We have 1 full-time department head. We have 2 full-time life skills teachers, 1 transition academy teacher who works with our students 18 to 21, and then we have the specialized program. That program is for students with special behavioral challenges. It used to be room 202, but they moved the room, so I put specialized program. I apologize. That's why I was stumbling. We have 2 full-time TAs at the high school. We have 4 full-time TAs that provide support to students in life skills and transition academy, and 2 full-time one-to-ones for behavioral or physical issues that students may have. At the secondary level, I already mentioned our life skills program provides supports for the specialized instructional needs of students, which is beyond that of their peers. These students also qualify for alternate assessment. This is a continuum of next steps to life skills at Davisville Middle School to life skills programming at the high school. So we have a full continuum of services for students who qualify for alternate assessment. Mentioned the life skills program that we have that provides life skills education and community-based vocational experiences. And we also have our Transition Academy, which is for students 18 to 21. Those students have some classroom-based experiences where they're working on life skills, things like budgeting, how to get a job, transportation within the community, which is a challenge. We don't have a lot of public transportation in South County. And then they do go out with staff from Perspectives, and they are job coached in the community in various vocational experiences. We have students at Dave's Marketplace, we have students at Marshall's, TJ Maxx, several nursing homes, and we continue to build those experiences for our students. We actually even had a student do an office internship in my office over the summer. Success Academy is located at the high school. It's for grades 9 through 12, and it provides intensive supports for the academic needs of students, and it's also a diploma track program for those students. We continue to be quite busy at Davisville Academy, our clinical day program. We started off the school year with 34 students across grades K through 12. We've had students referred from South Kingstown, Portsmouth, Narragansett, Jamestown, and Coventry. We've had students in the past from Cheraho also. It is a therapeutic day program designed to meet the social emotional needs of IEP students requiring a setting outside of the regular public school setting. That's really important to us. We have a full staff of general education teachers who provide the curriculum, as well as the special education teachers and mental health staff in that program. We had one graduate this year who graduated in August, so we're pretty proud of that. and we're hoping to have more this school year. Related service provider support across the district. I'm thankful that we were able to add a full-time social worker position to our secondary schools. We have 8.6 speech pathologists across the district. We have one between the two middle schools, a 0.6 at the high school, and the rest of our speech pathologists are across our preschool and elementary programs. We have one full-time occupational therapist and 4 certified occupational therapist assistants across the district, 1 physical therapist and 1 PTA. We currently have 1 behavior specialist, and we have the availability, thanks to our budget this year, for 4 BSAs. We currently have 2. We have been not successful in hiring for the middle and high school positions at this time, although we have advertised about 5 times over the summer. Speaking to other colleagues and directors across Rhode Island, that teaching assistant position is very difficult to fill. They're having similar experiences that we've been having. People will say they're coming to interview, they don't show up. And we'll have 27 people apply, 8 people we want to interview, we interview 2. So we continue to work on building the capacity for behavioral support with those positions. We continue to have a full-time clinical psychologist, which is unique. Not every district has that. She provides support to our clinical day program, which allows us to keep students in district, and she also provides clinical consultation across the district. Dr. Helton provides the support for our central clinical team, where school teams can bring difficult cases to the clinical team who will offer suggestions and support. She also does our clinical psychological evaluation, so we don't have to outsource that, that service. We have 5 school psychologists, 3 at the elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school. So that has not been a change. Our social workers are a change. We now have 1 social worker for the middle school, 1 social worker for the high school. We still continue to have 2.5 at the elementary. I would love to see that increase to 3. And we have 1.5 social workers at Davisville Academy. So that was information that RIDE did gather as part of their school support visit. And then I just picked some highlights of some things that they mentioned in the report. One of the positives is that students with disabilities in North Kingstown are not suspended at a rate higher than their non-disabled peers. That is something that RIDE tracks as part of it's one of the indicators that we need to report out on, and they report out to the federal government. It is a federal formula, and it has recently changed. So overall, we are not disproportionate in representing students with disabilities in areas of suspension or dropout rate. However, the federal formula has changed, and it does suggest that we overrepresent Native American, Pacific Americans in all disability areas. I give that statistic with caution because it's such a small percentage of our overall population in North Kingstown that it's probably skewed a little, and it appears that most districts in Rhode Island are overrepresenting in that area, so it might be a formula issue. But we'll,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, would you just clarify what means overrepresented, meaning
That means
they have special, they're in some kind of special service
category? Yes. So if 15% of our student body overall who are considered Caucasian or white are learning disabled, it would stand to reason that I'm explaining that wrong. If our total population of students is 2% Native American, Pacific Americans, so overall, when you look at the demographics of the community, then only 2% of those students, only 2% of students with a disability can be Native American. So basically, it's such a small proportion of in our demographics that if we have one student who identifies as being a Native American, Pacific American, and they fall in a disability category, chances are we're disproportionate.
Well,
Did that make sense?
We only
Okay.
had according to RIDE, 31 Native American identified
Correct.
students. So one would change it by almost 4%.
Correct. So that's why I said it's kind of a skewed statistic, but it is one that we are held accountable for. What happens with that is that we need to take a proportion of the IDA funds and use that work to make sure we're not over-identifying students. So it gives us an opportunity to kind of spread that money around a little differently. Social emotional learning was another area that the state looked at as part of the school support visit. I know we've talked about social emotional learning a lot. I know it's an initiative for the district. Some examples include our Open Circles curriculum, Choose Love, the Kingian Initiative, which is moving across both our middle schools, Sandy Hook Promise, Restorative Justice, and Strong Kids and Strong Teens. We do Second Step and provide other social emotional support through the special education programming. We have social skills groups across K-12, lunch bunches in the elementary to promote social skills, and individual and group counseling provided by our school psychologists and social workers. When we look at graduation and transition services, it's another indicator that RIDE does look at. Our graduation rate of students with disabilities is 61.5% compared to 92.2% for non-disabled students. This is similar to the state average as far as the gap and the percentages. There was no issue with our graduation rates at this point. Some of our transition services that they were very impressed to see, and we've gotten lots of kudos across the state for that and have presented on some of our programming. We have a grade 6 through 12 scope and sequence of topics and assessments. That's very impressive and something that a lot of districts are striving for. We have vocational course offerings at the high school and specific transition courses that can be taken as electives. Our Transition Academy, as I've mentioned before, providing life skills and community-based work experiences. We do have some students at West Bay Transition Academy at community counseling, at CCRI this year. And we also have students at Project Search, which is a program that is a joint effort with the Office of Rehabilitation Services that provides internships for students with disabilities heading towards competitive employment in the medical field. They also do look at our records. Most of our compliance issues were really due to incomplete documentation or blanks on forms. I've spent a lot of time at our first professional development day working with our teachers on filling in all the blanks. We've done some continued professional development using the Aspen system, which is our IEP development system, and we continue to struggle with that. As a system, it seems that every time they do an upgrade, we have to go back and make sure they didn't change other things. One of the other pieces that RIDE has given us is $9,200 to provide support for some of the corrective action work that will help us with additional PD and consultation. They did talk about our IEPs needing to be more measurable with clear and consistent progress, so that data piece, timelines, need to be adhered to, and we need to make meeting notices more clear to clearly reflect the purpose of the meeting for families. The full report is on the RIDE website if anyone wants to read it. It's great weekend reading. So our support plan that my office has kind of talked about is to provide technical assistance from an outside consultant on IEP development. We would like that work to contain a make and take IEP sample, so every teacher will walk out with a sample of best practice for IEP writing. We are going to provide the teachers with the IEP from A to Z book so that they have a constant reference for writing measurable goals and objectives. And we're also going to do some specific work with our speech and language pathologists around IEP development. We will continue to do our own professional development in-house from my office with my assistant and my early childhood coordinator for paperwork issues and Aspen. We've actually put a piece in place where anything that has a blank goes back with an explanation and some technical assistance to that. So that's been a change for folks out in the field. When I look at my vision for PPS, I want to continue to make sure that we have access and equity for all our students. We need to continue to develop those behavioral supports, both in terms of the behavioral specialist assistants, as well as just continuing to build the toolboxes for our mental health staff. Dr. Helton has worked on anxiety with our mental health staff, how to identify it, different things to work with those students. We're hoping to do some work on trauma in the upcoming school year. The elementary principals have identified that they would like to see some support, more support in the areas of students with autism spectrum disorder. There's been some talk about program development at the elementary level that we plan to work on this year to hopefully implement with funding for the next school year. Transition continues to be something we need to work on with our students, making sure we have lots of opportunities for our 18 to 21-year-olds who have intellectual disabilities, and of course, always improving our data and our paperwork compliance. That's it.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Welcome.
Deep breath there. And questions? Anyone?
I was going to, since Ms. Hoskins provided some questions, which I thought were interesting. So, when we have homeschool students who transition to the district and require services, how well are the assessments are we getting to help us place those kids correctly?
So a student who was being homeschooled by their
Right.
parents?
Right. And so forth, and then decide to enroll in the district and require special ed services. Are we, first of all, I don't know if that's a big number. Maybe it's not, but,
No.
okay.
Typically is not. I can think of two examples. One family had done a lot of outside evaluations on their own and had done a lot of work making sure that they had the disability well identified and what supports were needed. We had another situation where there really was no current or good data on the student. So in the first case, we were able to take the data that the parents presented and identify the child, because one of the first pieces we need to do is identify whether or not the child has a disability and whether they're in need of specially designed instruction. So having been homeschooled, we didn't have a lot of those pieces, so we needed to make that determination. And that student is participating in transition services with us at this time. The other student, we are currently in the process of doing evaluations to make sure that we know exactly what the disability is, how it impacts that student's learning, and where we need to move forward with IEP development, because a child on homeschooling isn't necessarily going to come to us with an IEP, obviously, because the parents are homeschooling. We have similar situations with students who may come from private and parochial schools. If they have been parentally placed, oftentimes we need to do those evaluations.
I think, just refresh my memory, for district residents whose children are in private schools but require special ed, we are required to provide services, and how does that relationship work in us having a say other than just writing the check, which I don't think a lot of people know we're required to do that.
Okay, so we are required by law, and there's two laws on the books in Rhode Island. There is the federal law, and then there's a Rhode Island general law. We are required to provide IEP services for students in private or parochial schools within our district. We probably have 5 students who are requiring those services.
Can I back up for a
Yep.
second? Is it to students who go to a school in our district, or students who reside in our district and go to a parochial or private?
I'm getting
school?
there. So for those students who are North Kingstown residents attending school in North Kingstown, we provide an IEP service. We're able to provide that through either they come to our school and may get the resource services before, after school, maybe during the school day if that works for them. And we do have a speech language pathologist who does spend some time in our private parochial schools. So that's one kind of bucket of kids that we need to provide services for. And those are our kids and they're our residents. We also need to provide a service plan which is for those students who have an IEP, who do not live in North Kingstown, but go to a private or parochial school in North Kingstown. That is actually a proportionate share, so we only need to provide services that we negotiate, kind of, and it's a small bucket of money. It's around $581, so we need to provide that amount of service. If they need additional services or something that we're not providing, we typically provide speech language services, they can go back to their home district for that. Our kids who are North Kingstown residents who are going to school outside of North Kingstown at a private parochial school, that LEA is responsible for that service plan for them. So it's kind of, that was a,
Yeah, I think some people know that we provide transportation in the catchment area, but I don't think they're aware that we also have some special education responsibilities for the private school.
it's fairly minimum. You know, we don't have we don't have a large population of private parochial schools.
So just my last question, since I haven't been involved in the paperwork aspect, which obviously there's probably quite a bit.
There is.
As a legal requirement, to what extent are we automated in some of this? Like I was thinking of your problem going, if a form's automated and a field isn't
Well-
filled in, it rejects the form as opposed to, the old way where you do triplicates and stuff by hand. So
Well, a little back history. When I first started in the district as Assistant Director of Special Education, we did have the Aspen system has a special education component to it. It was not being used efficiently or effectively. So people were doing paper, and there was paper that had people's names on it that I didn't even know because the paper was coming out of the file. So you're right, paper is not efficient. I spent probably the beginning of that year and the next year working with folks. Last year was the first year that we blew up every paper form in the district and provided the staff with both a special education manual for procedures, but also required that the forms be in Aspen. The problem is Aspen isn't foolproof, so you can leave something blank and it may not catch it. It catches a lot of things, but it doesn't catch everything. And it's I don't want to get technical, it's a little funky, and if they do something wrong, it can sometimes lead them down the wrong path. So we've done some professional development again this year. I would say it's greatly improved. And now with this kind of accountability system checklist that they get back if there's anything wrong, I think that's helping also provide some technical assistance for them, because now they're getting back what they're, that needs to be corrected.
Has the district ever looked into doing something automated like IEP Direct?
No, we have Aspen, it is an IEP program. They go in, it takes all the demographics, it provides all that information, it has workflows for initial IEP, reevaluation, and IEP amendment.
Right,
It
but
does.
you just said it does
Well, it
make
just,
them
it's,
down the wrong way.
well, if someone puts the wrong data in, you're gonna get, it's bad data in, bad data out, which would be with any data system. So we are working on making sure they get that information correct the first time. And it has all the Rhode Island forms, it has all our prior written notice, it has our meeting notices. It generates that for them, so they do get all the forms at the end. So if they start what we call a workflow, they will get all the forms that they need for their IEP
And there
meetings.
is a workflow for goals and objectives and measurable goals and objectives?
Yes. It does not have drop-down menus where they pick a goal, they have to write those goals.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So next item on our agenda are citizens' comments. I don't know if anyone's signed up to speak this evening. No one's jumping. Even if you did not sign up on the list, you are welcome to do so. And all set. Okay, thank you. So next, we're on to routine items. If I could have a motion to seal the executive session minutes of September 25th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Hoskins, second Ms. Hildebrand. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. I can disclose that no votes were taken in our executive session this evening. For the consent agenda, I'm going to do one exemption myself, which is going to be, I'm going to exempt item E17. Anyone else have any other items they would, actually, I'm just going to pull it. Yeah, we're just going to pull it from the agenda, so we're not going to be voting on E17.
We're 16.
No, 16 stays.
17 is the only one.
Yep. Any other exemptions? Okay. Then I would ask for a motion to approve all of the executive session items with the exception of E17. The motion, Ms. Hoskins.
Second.
Second, Ms. Hildebrand. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. We don't need to visit E17 because it's being removed completely. Next, we have school committee approval of a legal settlement. I'd ask the motion to approve. I have a motion from Ms. Hoskins.
Second.
I have a second, Ms. Hildebrand. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Unfinished business, we have anything on the 2018-19 school budget?
No.
CIP bond, future bond, existing bond. Dr. Ogier.
I just want to remind people that on October 16th, the school committee will be meeting at North Kingstown High School. Right at 7 p.m., we're going to have an open discussion where the audience is invited to ask questions. We will have the architect who has been working on plans for the track and field complex. And I will answer and present all, detailed information about bond projects as related to the school department, and Mr. Mollis, town manager, will be on hand to answer questions about anything related to the town side of the bond. So it's probably the best opportunity for anyone who's interested in learning about all of the details of the bond. That will have a very comprehensive evening that night. That will be October 16th. It's a school committee night. We're going to have the school committee meeting at the high school just to make sure that we can accommodate everyone that evening. So, and I will be sending emails about that, including brochure, information that we've put together that has information about the complex and about the bond. We'll go out to the community in the next few days and probably once or twice to remind people before that night. And if you are so inclined, I am also visiting all of our PTOs, and I will be at the high school open house later this week to give a quick discussion about these points and just helping people to learn more about what is in the bond. Thank you.
Do we know if that's being shared from the town council side too? Are they like
The town council does put together an informational mailer that they send out about a week or two before the bond. So that's being put together. I don't know of, Mr. Mollis did come with me to the Dunes Club where the boosters were doing, an informational night. And he will be there for the 16th. I don't know if they've set up a particular night on their end, the town council, to do something similar to that. If they have, they haven't invited me. No. So, but I'm going to make sure that members of the town council are aware of our meeting on the 16th in case they would like to attend as well. And we intend for it to be different from a presentation such as the one tonight. We're asking, if anyone comes, they're welcome to ask questions, and we will take questions until we're done having the discussion. So we want people to leave feeling like they've learned a lot about what is in the bond and why it's in the bond.
Okay, then having done that, we are on to new business reports. There's a disposal notification in your folder as well as the financial reports. Any questions on those? If not, we've reached the end of our agenda. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion, Ms. Hoskins.
second?
A second, Ms. Hildebrand. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, everybody.